Chapter 945. Elaine suddenly felt very sad when she heard this. She had only been gone for the past 2 days, but everyone in the family seemed to have a different attitude toward her now. Her husband was ignoring her and had even lost his temper with her. Her son-in-law was also no longer the same son-in-law who was always at the mercy of others. He even dared to get angry at her and asked her to move back to their own house. Even her good daughter that she could always rely on was no longer standing on her side. She would never have dreamt that her daughter would actually take Alex's side at this time. She had always been a drama queen. When she saw that she was about to lose power in this house, her eyes flushed red as she started to put on an act. She choked pitifully as she said, "I am now superfluous in this house. Your father does not care about me anymore. Your husband is threatening to kick me out of this house, and you are not even standing on my side anymore." As she spoke, Elaine's mouth twitched as tears flowed down her cheeks. Emma sighed helplessly before she said, "Mom, you are the one who is in the wrong. I cannot always be taking your side." Although she felt sorry for her mother for all the sufferings that she had endured, she felt that this was not a reason for her mother to be yelling at Alex or hurling any insults at Mrs. Brown. Furthermore, Emma knew very well that her husband had always been very pitiful ever since he was a child. He did not have many relatives in this world. Aside from herself, the only other person that he could refer to as his relative was none other than Mrs. Brown. This was also the reason why Alex was desperately trying to raise money for Mrs. Brown's treatment some time ago. Emma knew that Alex had always regarded Mrs. Brown as his own mother. She had always admired Alex's filial piety and grateful behavior. Otherwise, she would not have given him all of her savings so that he could get some treatment for Mrs. Brown. In her heart, Emma also personally felt that her mother was a bit too much. Therefore, she naturally could not speak up for her at this time. Elaine was crying pitifully as tears flowed down her face, and she sighed as she said, "I really have a very pitiful life. Do I still have a place in this family?" Alex was no longer willing to continue staying here just to watch her put on an act. He did not want to be patient with her anymore. Therefore, he simply walked past her as he told Emma, "My dear wife, I am going to head to the orphanage first. I will not be having dinner at home today." Emma hurriedly stood up before she said, "I will come with you. I have not seen Mrs. Brown for a long time. The last time we visited Mrs. Brown at the hospital was already a few months ago. I kind of miss her." Emma had truly fulfilled the duties and responsibilities of a good wife. She was not only very supportive of Alex's decision to get treatment for Mrs. Brown's illness, but she also often accompanied him to visit her at the hospital. She took very good care of Mrs. Brown, just like Alex did, and she was also very respectful toward Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown also really liked Emma very much. She treated her like her own daughter-in-law. When Alex saw that Emma wanted to visit Mrs. Brown with him, he nodded in satisfaction before he said, "Okay, we can go together then. Mrs. Brown also asked me about you the last time she called me. I think that she misses you a lot too." Emma said, "Then, we can set off now." When Elaine heard that Emma was going to go out with Alex, she said pitifully, "My good daughter, are you angry at your mother? Are you really going to ignore your mother as well?" Emma looked at Elaine helplessly before she said, "Mom, I really hope that you can reflect on everything that you have experienced in the past 2 days and change your personality and attitude. Otherwise, you will definitely suffer more in future." When Elaine heard her words, she sat on the ground before she cried out, "What is the point of me staying alive in this world? My only relative, my dear daughter, no longer cares about me or supports me anymore. The police should not have released me from the detention center. I should have just died inside." In the past, Emma would have already softened her heart and compromised or given in when she sees her mother being such a profligate. However, this time, she understood that her mother would suffer even more in future if she maintained this kind of personality and attitude. Therefore, Emma knew that she should not be condoning her mother's temper and character anymore.